Emancipating Your Food, A Guide to Making Better Choices. A presentation by Ruby Chen, Doug Ferguson, Patrick Hones, and Travis Vance. Corporations control our food. 4 companies control 83.5% of the beef packing industry, 66% of pork packing, and 80% of soybean crushing, while 2 companies sell 58% of U.S. seed corn. 2% of farms produce 50% of all agricultural products in the country. And corporations produce 98% of poultry in the United States. So how does this affect us? As Americans, we have become increasingly more aware of our damaging lifestyle choices, which contribute to global warming and diminishing resources. Yet we neglect to talk about one of the most basic sources of these problems. At the basis of all life throughout history is the necessity of consuming food. But as a society, we've become disconnected from our food sources. This disconnect has led to what Eric Schlosser describes as an increasing dependence upon a corrupting influence of centralized power. The food industry's power controls a cycle from their internal workers who make the products to the customers who consume their products and ultimately to the environment we live in. The consequences from this abuse of power are best exemplified in the fact that in 2007, 36.2 million people in the United States lived in food-insecure households, including 12.4 million children. As a society, we need to regain our power from the controlling forces of business and government by challenging the existing systems of our food supply. We have the ability to claim our independence by not participating in the industrialized food system. This can be done through 4 simple changes: learning to cook again, buying local, buying what's in season, and planting a garden.
Declaring your independence from the industrial food system is not without its challenges. Today, the average American spends 27 minutes a day on food preparation, less than half of what they spent 40 years ago. Conversely, we've added an average of 167 hours, almost a full month of full-time work, of time spent at work since the 1960s. This fact has doubled in significance when you consider homes where both parents work. A busier lifestyle has obviously led to an increase in conveniently placed drive-through fast food chains, but this is not where the problem ends. Even in our homes, many kitchens are filled with microwavable, pre-cooked meals that can be prepared at a moment's notice. Many people don't realize how little knowledge they really have on how to prepare real food. So why is this a problem? First of all, consider your own health. Studies ranging from those performed by Harvard economists to ones published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association note the inverse correlation between time spent on food preparation and obesity rates. Healthier foods are prepared, fewer meals are consumed, and impulsive indulgence on junk food goes down. And for the purpose of declaring independence from the industrial food system, learning to cook again is where you'll have to begin. If you're going to eat real food, you're not going to be able to throw it in the microwave for a few minutes or purchase it at a drive-thru on your way home from work. It's going to take planning, preparation, and culinary knowledge. This isn't something the majority of Americans are willing to make a daily routine. In fact, according to surveys, approximately 70% of Americans don't yet know at 4 p.m. what they will be having for dinner. That isn't much time to buy, prepare, and cook what you're going to be eating. It is going to mean a major lifestyle change for some of us, but when you think about it, how can you claim to be independent from the industrial food system if you don't even cook your own food?
The next step for change is to change your purchasing habits from unknown to known by buying food from your local farmer as opposed to major supermarkets. It is a simple example of supply and demand. Currently, as citizens, we have not placed a high enough demand on local systems. As we increase our spending to local producers, they will grow and become more easily accessible. It is important that we not designate certain areas for the production of one type of food, but rather grow a cornucopia of food that can supply a variety of needs. In the San Joaquin Valley, some 85% of all the world's almonds are grown there, but a variety of food would be a much better way to serve the people of Los Angeles. The most common venue for the purchase of a variety of locally grown food is a farmer's market. Typically, they aren't open on a daily basis, which causes inconvenience for shoppers, but the benefits of a farmer's market are widespread. Consider the energy it takes for a farmer to bring their food down to a local market compared to the energy needed for a large manufacturer to bring food to a supermarket halfway across the country. Then, consider all the additives that would be needed to guarantee that these food items remain fresh, and often the costs that are involved in such a process, and you begin to see why the number of farmers markets grew from 1,755 in 1994 to 5,274 in 2010. Yet, these numbers still show room for improvement when you consider that there are still over 15 traditional grocery stores for every one farmer's market in the United States. One of the major criticisms of eating healthy is that it is too costly, but farmers markets help to reduce the cost to consumers as well. The addition of a farmers market to a food-deprived area makes it much more affordable to purchase a nutritionally balanced meal. When natural food is more easily accessible, we can also reduce obesity trends. There are other options, such as food boutiques, which offer farmers to drop off their food and receive a share of the profits, but these are still limited in availability. Perhaps the best solution is farm gate sales, which allow the consumer to travel to the actual farm, which develops a relationship and establishes a transparency that is hard to achieve in some of these other venues. However, zoning laws often prohibit farm gate sales to exist. Another option is metropolitan buying clubs, or MBCs. MBCs allow you to use the internet to order food from a farm's inventory, which is then delivered during scheduled drops in urban areas. There are many ways to buy locally that will only increase in accessibility as we share our dedication to support our local farmers, and in doing so, we take another step to declaring our food independence.
All of the world's healthiest foods are seasonal. Fruits that are grown out of season are often spread with chemicals of all sorts, because it requires a little bending of natural rules for these foods to survive the strange season in which they are brought into the world. One of the biggest reasons why you should opt for seasonal foods is because they are full of antioxidants that are good for you. Antioxidants fight free radicals, keep you young, and keep disease at bay. Also, seasonal foods are not expensive because it does not cost the earth to produce them at a time when that should not be available ideally. They are cheaper to produce and hence cheaper to buy as well. Seasonal foods are not only taste better and fresher, they are more nutritious. Seasonal foods are good for the environment. By eating seasonally, you will also be supporting the local farmers and local markets, which in turn works well for the entire economy. The more local you eat, the less chances exist that you are consuming food that has been flown in from halfway across the world. In effect, consuming that much more fuel.
Planting a garden, the last and final way that can be used to achieve independence from the industrialized food system is to plant a garden. Planting a garden illustrates that we can opt out of the current system's control over our lives. A garden can also have many positive effects, such as community involvement, access to fresh produce, knowledge of your food's origin and food safety, and most importantly, less dependence from the current food system. This would eventually get the attention of big food manufacturers and force them to change their ways of production. Something as small as planting your own garden can result in a momentous movement where it becomes so contagious that everyone gets motivated to produce their own food and control their own lives. However, other factors have to be considered when planting a garden, such as laws and regulations that govern zoning, business, and the environment. Some laws that govern gardens are the pesticides and herbicide laws that are regulated by the EPA, that states only licensed professionals are allowed to use certain pesticides and herbicides. The next major law that needs to be followed is the weed law that governs your area. This law wants to prevent the introduction of invasive plants that are considered a threat to native species or agriculture, and it also explains how tall and what type of plants can be grown in your yard. To view more regulations that affect your area, visit the USDA's website where information will be listed based on your area. The next huge mechanism of success is safety and distribution. Safety is the most important part of planting and gardening and distributing food. The goal isn't to harm people, but to provide a source of healthy and accessible food. An example of a successful operation is the Peaches and Greens produce market that is based in Detroit. Their operation allows the residents of Detroit to have access to low-cost fruits and vegetables through a produce truck and store, which are clean and safe. These basic strategies can allow for decentralized control over our food, which would attack the obesity epidemic, which costs over $100 billion a year, low employee wages, animal rights, environmental issues, and a whole array of issues that the industrialized foods industry has catalyzed by mass producing our food. Moreover, the most important accomplishment will be controlling our own food supply.
We need to stop being complacent with the idea of normalcy in regards to our food supply. There is a magnitude of power that industrialized food system currently holds. Such an established system as this will not change until there is a movement of resistance against it. Given the necessity of food in all of our diets, every meal is an opportunity for change. We have given you the first few steps to emancipating your food as a guide to better choices, and now the power is in your hands. As Joel Salatin explains, the question is not, what can I force someone else to do, but what am I doing today to opt out of the industrial food system?